The child's ego copes with difficult emotions by splitting. This is a psychological process where unacceptable feelings are repressed into the unconscious, whilst their opposite feelings are embraced. For example, thoughts and feelings of weakness may be buried, while strength becomes an ego ideal and source of self-esteem. These repressed thoughts and feelings remain unconscious, perceived as shameful and to be avoided at all costs. Split-off feelings act as a filter for the ego, dividing the world into moral opposites. This process enables the child to form value judgments about themselves, others, and the world. Ego ideals are seen as good, while repressed opposites are seen as bad. As the ego consolidates these splits, it defends them rigidly, like a walled city. Anything that reminds the ego of its repressed traits is kept outside the walls, so to speak. Qualities or people that align with ego ideals appear appealing and relatable. For example, a strong man might impress a boy who identifies with strength, reinforcing the split by aligning with his ego ideal. Maintaining these splits requires significant energy. To reduce this pressure, the ego projects its repressed traits onto external targets. For instance, a boy identifying as superior might repress feelings of inferiority and further project them onto a smaller, weaker boy, relieving the pressure by tormenting the other boy. In this example, a girl identifies as good, while splitting off her bad traits into the unconscious. To reduce pressure on her ego, she projects her badness onto the target in the world, seeing him as bad and herself as good. Similarly, a boy who identifies with power splits off feelings of weakness, projecting them onto a vulnerable target. By tormenting this weaker target, he reinforces himself as powerful. With splitting, the world is seen in simple binaries: right versus wrong, good versus bad, strong versus weak, and so on, making it appear stable and predictable to the ego. In adolescence, however, this simplistic view of the world begins to break down. Splits established in childhood start to dissolve as the world reveals itself to be more ambiguous. Parents who once embodied projections of safety and protection now may fall short. For example, a teen girl might struggle to project feelings of security onto her father when he faces financial difficulties, making him seem fallible to her. Similarly, childhood notions of good and bad are challenged when a teen girl, for example, realizes her friends, who she loves, also do things she disapproves of. This raises the possibility that the world is not as stable and predictable as she once believed. Late adolescence is typically a time when childhood splits are integrated into a more mature ego. For example, if morality and immorality were split in childhood, the ego gradually learns to tolerate that it can embody both of these qualities at the same time. This integration reduces pressure on the ego and finally enables it to see reality more clearly. Not everyone integrates their childhood splits. For instance, a woman unable to accept her feelings of inferiority might still project them onto others, viewing them as losers to distance herself from her own shame. However, if this individual were to integrate this split and accept that she can be both a winner and a loser, her ego would no longer need to project nor protect itself. This would relieve pressure and enable her to see herself and others more realistically.